Good afternoon. Welcome. My name is Alberto Savoia, and I have the honor of introducing Kent Beck today. Thank you for coming to this lunch. Well, if you're here, you probably know who Kent is, but just for the three of you that may not know that, he's best known as the father of extreme programming, co-author of JUnit, and pretty radical fellow. You know, introduced some revolutionary ideas. If you're familiar with extreme programming, some of those that come to mind. The idea of pair programming, kind of shocking to some people. Test first, shocking to a lot of people that didn't even test last. And of course, for people in who manage developers, the 40-hour work week was the most controversial one. We'll get over it. But the net is that whenever Kent has an idea, it's probably interesting and worth listening to. If you're interested in hearing where JUnit is going, you go to Java 1. Kent and I are giving a talk together tomorrow at 2:45 on JUnit 4 and the future of developer testing. But what you're hearing today is something very special. Is what is Kent thinking about next? Not JUnit and extreme programming is old stuff. His head is somewhere else, and if history is any indication, it's probably something interesting that will affect us for the next few years. And it's not a 30-hour work week. No. So here's Kent with Finding Ease at Work.
Thank you very much, Alberto. As Alberto said, my head is probably somewhere else. My wife, Cindy, tells me that all the time. She's joined me today. And actually, the seeds of this presentation came from watching her and her interactions on the net, watching email discussions. The most recent one was about, it's a homeschooling group, and they were discussing creationism, or as it's called now, intelligent design. There's a piece of metaphor for you. And here was the astonishing part. Here is one of the most divisive topics that you could imagine being discussed in an electronic forum, right? We've all used that excuse. Well, if this was face-to-face, I wouldn't be such a jerk. So here's this discussion going on, intense topic, intense discussion, and nobody was trying to hurt anybody in the whole discussion. Somehow, the people involved in the discussion had a sense of comfort about their own selves and their own positions and didn't need to take it out of anybody else's hide, and got me to scratching my head. I do that a lot. So thinking, well, what is it about this kind of discussion that's missing about similar discussions, geek to geek? Emacs versus VI. Why can't we have that same sense of comfort with our own positions to listen to what other people have to say, to speak what we have to say without the belligerence, without name-calling, without having to invoke the Nazi rule? Whoever calls the other person a Nazi first loses, just automatically, and the discussion's over. You know that one? So what's going on there? Well, what I discovered, and this is true of all interesting questions in my life, is when I started digging into this idea of ease, I became profoundly uncomfortable. I would rather not be thinking about this or talking about this, but it grabbed me, this idea of ease. And in fact, I'm so uncomfortable, I'm going to speak with notes, which I don't think I've ever done before. So I have enough little side comments that I wanted to make that I actually wrote some stuff down. Oh, and a piece of format. I'm going to talk for about 45 minutes, and then I would like to take questions at that time. Usually I don't mind being having questions during a presentation, but one time only, I want to get through the whole thing and then have the dialogue part for 15 or 20 minutes when we're finished. So here's the killer question. When was the last time you were comfortable in your skin as a programmer? You're just okay with who you were, what you did, your place in the world, the contributions that you made. Just, yeah, I'm okay with this. And then the corollary question is, when was the last time you were comfortable in your skin as a programmer at work? Yeah, see how I set that one up? Actually, Cindy came up with that one anyway. So we were giving a workshop at a telecoms company. And for a really rotten place to work, we had the most honesty in a big room that I'd ever seen. And one of the really honest comments is a guy raised his hand about halfway through. And I was talking about test first, and that always leads to, you know, responsibility and accountability and XP and book sales and that kind of stuff. I mean, it just somehow naturally slips in there. I'll get to that here too. Don't worry, Stephanie. My marketing person is over there for books. Okay, the guy raises his hand and he says, "Why do I have to turn off parts of myself to work here?" I'm like, everybody needs a hanky. Raise your hand. Let's just sing Kumbaya for a minute, and we'll all be okay for the rest of the workshop. Why do I have to turn off parts of myself to work here? I'm just thinking, something is wrong. Something is profoundly wrong with a workplace where that's true, and something's profoundly wrong, I was going to say, with the person. There's something missing in that person's view. Why did you come into work today if that's how you feel? Right? That's the question. Well, why don't you expect more from your work than that? Why don't you expect more from yourself than that? And that also fed into as I started exploring these ideas, I remembered this guy and his killer question. Why is it that a sense of ease and comfort isn't part of what we expect as programmers? At home, in my office, in the corner cabinet, I have a whole shelf full of wizard sculptures, different kind of sculptures of wizard. You know, I got the Mickey Mouse Sorcerer's Apprentice. I got the bronze guy with the marble base. I've got Wallace and Gromit, which isn't really wizard, but Wallace and Gromit are just plain cool, so that's okay. A bunch of different kind of wizards. And I always liked collecting them. I thought it's cool to have them there. But something has been bugging me for the past couple of years about this collection of wizards. Like my self-image is that I need to do magical things in order to be okay as a programmer. And so to me, thinking about it some more, I realize there's kind of a pendulum involved. There's this, on the one side is the wizard or the hero, kind of this archetypal, on the mountaintop, man against nature, person against nature. That's part of my self-image. That's what I think I should be as a programmer. And then there's this other side, which is the martyr. You know, the 2 all-nighters in a row, and the, you know, bad health, and the horrible relationships, and, you know, that's just all part and parcel of being a programmer. It's the price I pay, you know, sacrificing myself on the altar of technological progress. And doggone if I don't just swing back and forth between those two poles of the pendulum.